Hey. Since you're not walking through anymore, that's right. Maybe, hey, why don't you scoot both? Well, yeah, as long as you're middle. Go ahead. It's pretty late. Dang it. That's why I hate this. But well, I guess let's do this. As good as it gets. You want to wait 8 minutes, 10 minutes? It's 6:05, almost 6:06 right now. Is it on? Just flip the switch, it should be on. Hey, Dennis.
Hi. Nice seeing you again.
Yeah, likewise.
You are really covering the county.
As much as possible. Is it flipped up?
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome for joining us. Thank you for joining us. We're about to start. My name is Salinas. I'm co-founder of Voices of Monterey Bay, long-time resident of this community. Lived in Salinas since 2004, and worked here for several publications. Co-founded Voices in 2018, and I live in Salinas, like I said. So I have a lot of stake in this race, and I'm joined by my fellow journalist who will introduce herself.
Hello everyone, good evening. My name is Celia Jimenez. I work for the Monterey County Weekly, and one of the beats that I have is covering the city of Salinas.
Welcome everyone for joining us. Before we start with this debate, a couple of housekeepings. The restrooms are through the door, all the way in the back, and there's refreshments for anyone who would like to help yourselves. This forum is sponsored by the Progressive Democrats of Monterey County. Can you please give them a round of applause? Thank you for doing that. And we also like to thank the United Farm Workers for hosting us this evening. And also we want to thank the candidates for stepping up and running. We appreciate it. If we're taking the time to do this on a crunch time, we heard from some of the candidates that had previous commitments and could not join us tonight. I'm going to read the ground rules for tonight. but we really don't have, we're not allowed time for back and forth. But I'll give you the ground rules, and then if you have any questions, you can ask. We're gonna have a 2-minute opening statements for everyone. And then we're gonna have 2-minute closing statements for everyone. You will be asked questions, and you will have 2 minutes to answer each question. We have a timekeeper. The timekeeper has a 15-second and a 20-second, and the time's up card that she will flash very graciously when time is up. If there's need to rebut any of the questions, which probably we won't since we have any opponents to you, you would have 15 seconds, but you cannot rebut yourself, so we're gonna skip that part. And then the final 20 minutes after closing, we're gonna save it for candidates to mingle with the audience. We have 10 questions with a 1 bonus question from the public. Everyone, please turn off your cell phones. We don't want any interruptions. You can take pictures, but please do not let your phone ring. And that goes for myself. I'm gonna check right now. And without further ado, let's start with the 2-minute opening statement. And because we're still somewhat old-fashioned and chivalrous, we're gonna start with our first candidate, with Carrie, female candidate.
All right, welcome everybody, and thank you for showing up, and thank you to the candidates for coming, and thank you to the Monroe County Democratic New Progressives for hosting this. A lot of you probably don't know me, some of you may. My name is Carrie Swenson. I was actually born in California, but raised in Washington State. I have a bachelor's from Western Washington University in History and Education, and I have a master's degree in History from University of Colorado Boulder. And what brought me to Salinas? So in 2009, I moved from Bellevue, Washington to Salinas I purchased the Sylvan Learning Center. And I was on North Bay, and I moved into North Davis. So I've owned Sylvan Learning, a small business. We tutor students after school since 2009. It's been a very successful business, a little bit of a hiccup during the pandemic. So I decided to use my master's degree, and I applied and got a job teaching American history at Hartnell. So far, for 3 semesters, I've taught 2 courses at Salinas Valley Prison, which is the Rising Scholars Program at Hartnell. And then I also teach on campus early American history, and this semester I'm teaching at the Castroville Center. So I really do enjoy teaching. So I'm both a small business owner and an instructor now. And then as far as my volunteer work in Salinas, since 2011 I've been a Steinbeck Rotarian. I am also on the Meals on Wheels board since 2020. I also deliver meals for Meals on Wheels. I am on the board of a new nonprofit, Seeds for STEM, and I am also a member of the LULAC Council 2055, where we're working on STEM for middle school girls. And my time is up. Thank you.
Our next candidate is Amit Pandya, who is running for mayor. He wants to represent our beautiful city of Salinas.
There you go. Beautiful city it is. Some of you may know me, but my name is Amit Pandya. I was born in India at the age of 14 with the family. We immigrated to the United States. I went to high school here. I went to Cal State Hayward and studied marketing and finance. I have made a career out of helping broken businesses, fixing them, and returning them to profitability. I have always been active in the community. I have served on various boards for the last 30 years. From Chambers of Commerce to Rotary, I have started nonprofits. I have been on nonprofit boards. My business experience has prepared me to read profit and loss statements. I have made budgets. I have made short-term goals and long-term goals and adjusted goals to fit the changing needs of the economy. I have hired employees and I have made payroll. One of the main reasons I'm running is the city of Salinas lacks transparency. It lacks honesty in communication. And my beloved city that I came here 30 years ago and raised my family in is now falling apart, literally, before our eyes in the last 20 years. Our sidewalks are crumbling, our potholes are not getting fixed. The problems of homelessness and various other issues that career politicians say, I've been on the council for 10 years and I've done a great job helping city get in the right direction. Give me 4 more years. That doesn't hold true anymore. All talk and no action means absolutely nothing anymore. I'm sure we'll hear more about me soon. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Andrew Sandoval. First and foremost, I'm a husband to my lovely wife, Ruthie. And, I'm a father to my 4 kids who happen to be here. Ethan, Nathan, Bella, and Sean. I'm also currently on the San Bernardino School District Board, where I'm proud of the work we've done to raise teacher pay, raise staff pay, also be inclusive of our decision-making process. Things that make me excited are things like our facility committee that before used to just be made of the directors, but now it's made of a cross-section of our staff, board, and directors. So I'm really excited about that. I'm also the district director for a civil rights organization for Monterey County and San Benito County. And through that work, we've been able to impact a lot of different communities, allowing for fair representation by moving them towards district elections. We've been able to do food distributions since the start of COVID, and we continue to do so. We've been able to partner with other organizations like the UFW to continue our work. I was also a business owner for 15 years. I owned Bella's Bridal and Andrew's Formal for many years. It was a great experience. Learned how to give great customer service and really serve the community and help teens navigate the decision-making process for their prom wear, which was always a fun experience. I've always had a heart for service. So, along my path, with raising my family, my business, I think, and the community service has really led me to try to run to be a city council member, just to be able to serve my community. Thank you.
You can scoot the table closer if you want to.
We're going to start with the questions.
Push up. Push up.
We're going to start with the questions, and the first question is, why are you guys running for office?
Okay, that's a good question. Why am I running? So why am I running? First, I want to say I grew up in Washington State where we had Democratic caucuses, which is a little different than the primaries. So our neighborhoods would meet and discuss the candidates they wanted for the general election. So I used to go with my father to the neighborhood caucuses and listen to the adults talk about politics and the candidates, and that really got me thinking I wanted to be in politics when I was little. I almost majored in poli-sci in my undergraduate, but ended up majoring in history, which they're similar. And then 2016 happened. And once Trump was elected, I thought, I have to do something. I don't know what I can do nationally, but I know I can do something locally. I can get involved locally. So I decided I was going to get involved. And how I got involved initially was I first helped Andrew on his first campaign for city council in 2018. And that was a lot of fun, and we learned a lot. And then also in 2018, I helped Regina Gage with her run for the supervisor. I got to talk to her campaign manager-in-law, so I learned a lot about managing a campaign. And then in 2020, I helped Chris Pereira with his run for Salinas mayor. And I was a volunteer coordinator. I helped him with the issues, research issues, and that was exciting and interesting. And I really, and I thought then, maybe I should run for city council. I moved to District 3 in 2020, and I didn't know if I wanted to do it because of my business, but then I got really, Andrew Sandoval and Wendy Rudiskew were like, you gotta run, so I said, okay. And I am meant to serve, that's why I'm here. Thank you.
So I'm really running to help make city a better place for all. I'm running to end the duplicity in government rules, lack of transparency. And what I'm really running for is what I have done for 30 years, get results. When you have one set of rules for one group of people and other set of rules for a different group of people, it does not work in the city. City administration and rules have to be uniform and consistently enforced. I touched a little bit on the homeless issue. I touched a little bit on the potholes issue. The issues that we have get lip service from our elected officials. We have spent $18 million on the homeless issue in the last 2 years. We don't have a plan. We don't have a short-term plan. We don't have a long-term plan. We don't have any goals, but we are spending millions of dollars and saying, wow, great job, we are fixing homeless problem. We just spent $21 million in Old Town Salinas. That was our Measure X money. For what? Fixing roads and sidewalks that were not broken. You want to see broken roads and sidewalks? Go to the east side. Go up on end of Chaucer. Even on South Main Street next to Foster Streets. It is time the message of unity and teamwork gets together and we actually start making the city a great place for all. Thank you.
Well, one of my main reasons for running is I've seen residents frustrated for too long that, they do get the lip service or that their basic needs are not being met over others. As I walk the neighborhoods and talk to residents, one of my old customers in my business, her name is Hilda. She's an 87-year-old resident. I remember her not coming for about 8 to 9 months. We would do alterations for her on a regular basis. I said, what happened, Hilda? She goes, I tripped over my sidewalk. Her recovery was 8 months. So to this day, that happened like 3 years ago. To this day, her sidewalk remains the same. Yesterday, we had a community meeting off of Victor, and 2 of the ladies said, well, that's an interesting story because I also broke my wrist, and I also broke my elbow. And who's liable for that, right? You would assume the city of Salinas would be. They planted these trees that have haunted our neighborhoods, and the sidewalks are just not getting repaired. I'm also running for a young lady who called me the other day and said, I recently got out of homelessness. I'm 62 years old. I finally found a room to rent. But is there any opportunities, if you win, what can you do to help me have a safe home? Or even a place of my own. The reality is that the people at the table are making the decisions, and they're not always thinking of the people in those income brackets or the reality that everyday residents face. So even though I couldn't guarantee her I would provide her a home, I always told her I'd keep her in mind and focus on issues and policies that would enable her to someday hopefully be able to get into a home. I'm also running for, to slow down traffic. One thing, my kids were helping me walk the other day, I had to say, be careful, don't cross the street, because the reality is we need more traffic calming measures. So, those issues really affect our everyday residents, and that's why I'm running. Thank you.
get a little creative because it kind of overlaps on what you've already answered. The next question, and you already told us extensively that we have a sidewalk and problems with streets, which I agree. Not everywhere though. William Street's getting repaved, which is really amazing. And so, in your opinion, what are the main issues impacting Salinas in addition to the sidewalks?
Okay. All right. Well, since I've been 2 months walking and knocking on doors and talking to residents, they're telling me the main issues. And streets and sidewalks, yes, it's number one, but I won't talk about that. The other issue that comes up a lot is housing, affordable housing. I'm a renter. A lot of the places I'm walking and talking to renters, and their rent's going up. And then affordable housing, the Maple Park area, they're upset because the new apartments on Abbott, for traffic, for blocking their views, and they did not feel heard. They didn't feel that their council person talked to them, had a meeting with them, nothing. And then when they went to complain about it, they were told, well, this is what you wanted. So whatever we do with housing too, we have to bring in the community. We have to at least communicate with them. This is our city. It belongs to all of us. So I represent, as a council person, I represent the residents. So for the housing and affordable housing, we have to find various ways to fix it. There can't be just one way. Duplexes, triplexes, ADUs, apartment buildings, and take into consideration our views and want to do high rises or keep them low. Single unit, affordable housing, all that's needed. And then the homelessness, that's another area that I hear probably from anyone that, when I knock on the door, some people want me to go away, other people want to talk. And so we got to fix the homelessness, and that's going to take different solutions. We can't fix it in one way. Mental illness, veterans, families, we have to be creative and find new ways to fix this problem. We can't get rid of homelessness, but we need to make it better. Thank you.
As anyone who's been in Salinas for 30 years will tell you, the city faces numerous challenges. Of course, affordable housing and homelessness issues are on the top. Infrastructures, our traffic patterns, our potholes, and sidewalks are there, but we need to do more. I believe the youth is our future. We need more prevention program and after-school programs. We need to keep our kids, young kids, so busy with activities that they don't have time to hang around the corners and gravitate towards gangs and violence. We need better park and rec centers. You go to the firehouse rec center, electrical outlet is hanging from the wall, and out of 3 urinals, 1 works, 2 don't. That was 2 weeks ago. We just finished spending $21 million to remodel the Old Town streets, and we can't have $50,000 to fix our park and rec centers and restrooms that our kids are using. Now remember, a budget is just not set of numbers and graphs. Budget is a value statement. When you put $21 million in Old Town, but refuse to put $50,000 to fix our parks and rec restrooms, that shows clearly what the value is placed on our kids versus property owners in Old Town. This election is not about me versus my opponent. This election is about corporate interests versus public's interests. And we'll get more into it real soon. Thank you.
Yeah, homelessness, the reality is most residents of Salinas could be 1 or 2 paychecks away from homelessness, right? We need to have some creative solutions. I think of all the money that gets spent on sweeps and moving people around. when the reality is, where are they supposed to go? So I remember many meetings where Wes invited me and said, you know, we're gonna have a discussion, right? But it just seemed like a lot of lip service, because at the end of it, there's still no safe place in Salinas. You know, we haven't done anything creative like taking steps towards building a tiny home village. We haven't taken any of those steps. So I think unless we start doing intentional actions that offer different solutions, of course we need to include wraparound services, mental health, and social services. But we need to come up with an intentional plan that's just not gonna sit there. You know, you'll hear me talking about it all the time, but traffic calming needs to happen across our city. And people say speed bumps are not the only solution. Of course not. We need PD to enforce speeders, which is now starting to happen under the new direction of the chief. But, you know, we also need not to spend so much money studying an issue. You know, this last year they did 50 traffic studies, but only funded 2. So at that rate, it's gonna take a lot of years for people to get their speed bumps installed. Another big issue is the fact that the city and the school districts do not communicate. I remember a couple of years ago I was having issues with the local school, and I went to the city and said, well, the city doesn't really deal with schools. And I thought to myself, well, do they at least talk to each other? No, go, that's their own issue. But the reality is the residents are the same, the students are residents of Salinas. So if we want to have more successful community meetings, more successful engagement, we need to partner with the school districts so they can do the outreach and have them there, right? Thank you.
You have shared with us what are the issues that Salinas is facing, and you know, based on that, if you get elected, what is your 100-day plan?
100 days.
Correct.
Okay, so I say when I get elected. Boy, the 100-day plan. First of all, I think it's disingenuous from anyone up here new saying, I'm going to go in and do this, this, and this. You know what? I'm going to go in and listen and learn. I'm not one to jump forward until I know what I'm doing, until I have all the facts and I understand what I'm doing. So, you know, I've been around the block before. There's a lot of fakers who pretend like they know what they're doing. I'm not one of those. I really want to know what I'm doing to move forward. And I do want to start by addressing what the residents are telling me. They're telling me the streets and sidewalks need fixed. They need traffic calming. So let's look at Measure G and let's look at where the money's going. And let's start in a plan to actually, tell residents it'll take less than 20 years to get their sidewalk fixed. Then the housing issue. You know, let's get contractors who come in and do affordable housing. When I hear that we can't get contractors to do it, but that's not true. That is absolutely not true. We need contractors to. Let's look at the state funding that we need to get for the affordable inclusionary housing that we need to have. You know, and then the homelessness. We need to get all the stakeholders together. I don't want to reinvent the wheel. Let's get people together who have been working on homelessness, and the people that can, mental illness, veterans, family services, and then let's create a solid plan. And let's look at some cities like Tacoma, Washington, who have made some great strides in their homelessness. We can't end homelessness, but we certainly can get the ones who want off the street. So that's my plan for the first 100 days. Thank you.
Well, I have say some of these things I'm going to say tonight. My plan is really simple. Number one, there has to be open communication with my people. I have announced one district meeting, listening meeting, community meeting per month in all 6 districts, and we'll do it again. All 12 months. There will be a community meeting, mayor will be there, city reps will be there. We'll simply listen to what the people's problems are and try to help find a solution. I have announced 21-member panel. It's my mayor's homelessness advisory panel. I don't have all the answers. I have over 75 reports on my desk from cities like Salt Lake City and Spokane, Washington, Ithaca, New York, that have worked on homeless problems for 10 years. We'll put a group of people together who really want to make a difference. We'll go through the reports, pick up the elements that has worked for other cities, and we'll customize them to work in the city of Salinas. One element all those reports have in common is housing first. I will also go and strike the intersection at Natividad and Laurel. When you're going northbound on Natividad, the 2 lanes that run into 3 lanes with 2 turning left, 2 turning right, and the straight going ones turn into 3. None of that is striped. That's a problem. We have people, young kids, who are out there putting so much time and energy into cars and just going zoom, zoom, zoom. We need to give them an outlet. We're going to open up the side airport runway that we used to use for drag racing. And we're going to bring back cruising down Old Town, South Side, and North Side. There is no more, my time is up. Thank you very much.
So I think everyone's already said the fact that we need to have community meetings in the district. You know, my brother attended one of the last community meetings that was for District 5 area. It was at Sherwood Hall. I think he mentioned there might have been 7 residents who attended that meeting, or 7 people, and then I think there was only 2 residents, the rest were staff. You know, there's poor outreach, right? And there's one simple way to get people to show up. It's partnering with the school districts. They can send out messages to hundreds and thousands of parents. And, you know, the school districts, you know, these new positions that they've created for parent engagement, you know what brings people around? Tacos, right? So I've been pushing this message with school districts and other entities. It's free food, it's childcare, and it's a reasonable time to have the meetings. So when we bring staff to those meetings, it's not just about having a listening session, but there's some of these residents who've invested lots of hours also doing the research about finding solutions to, you know, the tree situation, or, you know, or sidewalks or things like that. So we need to be active listeners too. It's not just about showing up there and you know, giving them lip service. Number 2, I find it so interesting how the city council puts items on the agenda. Keep in mind, this is the biggest city in Monterey County. And so the way they do it is at the end of their meeting, somebody says, hey, I'd like to add this item to the agenda, and then they ask for a buddy. And I thought, well, it's just, you know, a buddy system is great, but you won't hear me saying, can I get a buddy? You know, maybe get a supporter or something like that. But then even when that happens, there's no clear guidelines of when that item will be addressed in the agenda. I remember some of our former council members trying to get an item on the agenda for permitting center appeals. Guess what? It's been, I think, 5 years, and the city still does not have a committee to hear appeals from the permit center.
Thank you, candidates, for your answers. The next question is going to be one that is not going to talk much about the issues in the city, but more personal. And this question is, what can you bring to the leadership of Salinas? And it's you as temperamental-wise, but also experience-wise. And let's start now with Mr. Sandoval, because Ms. Swanson has been starting over and over. So let's spice it up a little bit.
You know, I had a business owner from, I think it was Alvin Square, and he said, man, you have all these amazing ideas, and you want to make all this change, and you want to help all this, you know, all your community, but he goes, I don't know if you really can. There's been so many people in city council who have made all these promises, and just there's just no movement. So what are you going to do different? And I go, well, my comment maybe won't be well received. I said, I might have to live at City Hall, right? Because for far too long, I think the staff has made the decisions, and the council, the direction the council has given hasn't been followed. So, but we're talking about leadership, and I think one thing I'm known for is being very persistent. And you know, there's this saying, you know, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. But I think where we're at in the city, we don't need to grease the wheels. What we need to do is we need to stop the wheel and realign it, you know, to make sure that it's serving the community. So I will say that persistence, follow through, and, you know, I'm giving my phone number to everyone I see, because the reality is, as public servants, we need to be accountable to them. So I remember Tony Barrera said, you know, the residents put you in that seat and they can take you out. So we need to make sure we're being responsible, or maybe we shouldn't be sitting there. So, thank you.
I could sit on my 30 years of business experience and say I can hit the road running the first day. But I'm made out of a different material. I bring with me outside of the box thinking. I bring with me my allegiance, my promise to the people of City of Salinas, and not to the big corporations and developers. I bring with me a results-oriented attitude. For 30 years, you make a goal, break it up into simple, digestible pieces, and execute them one by one to get where you want to go. I bring with me a unique passion and openness. I'm honest to the bone. I have a habit, as some people know, saying things exactly how they are. If I can do it, I'll tell you. If not, I'll tell you why not. I don't play games. And I have very little backstabbing capability. And the last thing I bring with me is a real passion for my city. You see, not only raised my family here, city has been good to us. City has been good to us in the business and personal life. It's time to give back. I'm semi-retired. I have time. I could go away and travel the country. I choose not to. And that's a conscious decision. I have the ability to help the city turn in the right direction, and that is why I'm standing here taking this position and saying, I want to run and become the next mayor. And I also bring with me majority of the city council. They have already endorsed me, and they already support me. And they think I'll make a great mayor. I hope you think the same. Thank you.
Okay, so what I bring for leadership is, one, a proven communicator. As a small business owner still learning, I would not be successful, the business would not be open today if I wasn't an excellent communicator with my families. The families that bring their kids to Sylvan, it's their choice, they're paying money, they're paying their good money to be there. I don't ever take that for granted. I make sure that we're going above and beyond for service for the families there, that our kids are getting the education that they need. Education is very, very important to me, and that communication with the parents is the utmost importance. Also with me, you get integrity. I do what I say. I grew up hearing from my dad all the time, 99% of the time when you say you're just kidding, you're not. And it was pounded into us to be honest and truthful all the time. So it's very hard for me to lie. My integrity and how people see me is very important. Accountability. Like going in my business, even if my employees screw up, I'm accountable for it. I have to be accountable for it. So I have to be accountable to the residents. The residents put me in that seat in city council. I'm responsible for doing what they need me to do. And I need to communicate with them. I plan on having neighborhood meetings throughout the year. So I want to take myself to the neighborhoods, because as I'm doing this, I'm walking around. These are great neighbors, great neighborhoods, and they know each other and talk to each other and be, really fairly easy to talk with the communities. So, and then the last thing is I'm a proven problem solver. I don't like to complain. I don't like to say, oh, this is a problem. I want to solve the problem. I make sure the problems get solved. Thank you.
in Monterey County. According to the weekly, for every 10,000 people in Monterey County, 58 are homeless compared to 32 per 10,000 in California. What can the city be doing about homelessness that is not already being done? And we're going to start with
Middle.
Pena for this one.
Thank you. Homelessness is a unique problem. City of Salinas is not the only city in the country that has a homeless problem. Homeless problem is present in a lot of other cities. Now, Salinas population, CSUMB and United Way, they do surveys. We can define homeless population as 4 separate problems. About 30% of them have a mental health issue. They need help with the mental health institution, with the establishment of 988 and the National Mental Health Resource Centers is where they need help from. About 30% of the second group is addiction. And it's not just alcohol, it's drugs, long-term uses of the drugs. And as the pundits will tell you, some of these people who have a long-term addictions are already moving into mental health and mental capacity issues. Third group of people are what they call economically homeless. Financial issues, family of 4, don't make enough money, can't make enough money, don't have a job, lost a job, and they need help tied into affordable housing in a different way. And approximately last 9 to 12%, depending upon whom you talk to, is what they call chronic homeless. These are homeless that enjoy being homeless. They want to be homeless. They don't want to go into shelters and houses and stuff. They don't want the rules. You can't do drugs. You can't bring dogs. You can't do this. They don't want any of that stuff. So I think we need resources for mental health. County is already working on that. Hopefully it'll come to fruition. We need addiction centers. We need sensory centers. We need drug treatment programs. And then we need affordable housing for the people. Especially interesting statistics, those who are in the economically homeless issue are not single men or women, they're families. And sometimes working families, making $28,000 or less per year. I will stop now before I get beat up. Thank you.
You know, we touched on this issue a little bit earlier, but I think we do need to come up with creative solutions like a tiny home village and provide some safe space. We need to make sure we're treating our homeless also with integrity and compassion. But I think the city's talked about having a safe space many years. There's just no, like Mr. Pandia said, there's no active solution. So I think they're taking some good steps with the Share Center, but we need to expand those. Like I said, there's different cross sections, and not every solution is going to be for every homeless resident.
Okay, yes, we have addressed this question before, but one thing I've not seen here, so just a little family issue as far as mental illness. My mom was schizophrenic, and as a family, we were not able to help her and keep her on a medication. So in the Seattle area, there's a little town in North Seattle called Fremont. And at Fremont, they had a place called Keystone. And Keystone is a kind of halfway house for people with mental illness. My mom paid for it with her Social Security. And they had professionals there, professionals who took care and make sure that all the residents would stay on their medication. And it went beyond that. It was also the residents of Fremont, the business owners of Fremont. They treated my mom and every other resident like a human being. They were mentally ill, but they were human beings. My mom was a human being. She didn't want to be mentally ill. And I can't tell you how grateful I am for that, for Keystone and for the residents who treated her like a human being. And I know because I saw her every Sunday for lunch or breakfast. We went out and everybody knew her. So we need housing like that. And a resident told me recently, talking who specializes in this, housing first. We gotta house them, and then we have to have the specialists that can help them. Then we have to look at veterans. I have a friend who's a veteran, and she works with the Veterans Administration. So that's another specialty area that we need to work with the people who know what get specialists in there to help and make sure that they get housing. And then you have the families, and as a teacher, as an educator, I know, so many kids are homeless. So we have to look at the affordable housing for families. Thank you.
Thank you for your answers. The next question is going to be back at, you already were talking about housing, but this is a different type of housing that we're going to be asking you about. And this is about California law and the requirement that local governments build affordable housing. And we have a mandate for Salinas to build a big number of housing, 6,674 housing units by 2023. Is that, in your opinion, an achievable number, and how will you go about advising the council? What role will you play in order to have that number be achieved? Because if not, then we're having the issues we have. So the first person to ask a question would be Ms. Swanson.
So, I guess looking at this, I would say no. 2023 is what? How many? 2 months away? And are we talking by the end of 2023? And then I want to know how many affordable units do we have already? Where are we at? And where's our funding? Have we gotten the state funding that we're supposed to get? Again, we have to go back and have a plan. My role will be to help to create that plan. I'm good at research. I'm good at figuring out what other places have done and the numbers. I mean, as a council, we can work together on this. Everyone can take their strengths, put it together, and bring it back out to the community. Get the people who are good at what they're doing. That's what you do in education. That's what you do as a business owner. You do what your strengths are. So let's find a way to solve it. Create a plan, create a timeline. I don't think it's going to happen in 2023. That can has been kicked down the road way too long. But we can definitely find another number, another date, and have accountability, have an agenda, have due dates, and get it done. Thank you.
I'll start off by saying no, it can't be achieved. I think my initial reaction to that is I think our supply chain is like 18 months behind schedule. Being on the school board, we saw the realities of the supplies are just not there. But, another big issue is here we go with communication, right? For far too long, there's not a lot of people who know. It wasn't really big news, but the 3 biggest school districts in Salinas sued the city of Salinas for poor planning and poor responses. So that's been one of the biggest holdups to moving forward on housing. And you think, man, it seems irresponsible to hold up housing. But if you look at the way our city's being built now, the fact that we have a McKinnon Elementary School outside of the city instead inside by houses, it's on the wrong side of the road. Those decisions were made by developers, and the city council that was in place at that time did not push for that school to be where it was supposed to be. So it goes down to communication. I'm baffled now that I'm more involved in local government trying to push things, how often people will avoid meeting face to face. It seems like we can't have a discussion anymore. It seems like it has to go through a lawyer or through a letter, and that's one of the biggest issues why we're not moving forward on affordable housing, because there's not that communication between school districts, the developer, and the residents. So, it's really unfortunate, but being on the city council, commitment number one is we got to reach out to the school districts. If we want things to change, we need people power, and the people are in the schools and the students. And an involved parent or a mama bear or a papa bear is going to do whatever they can to help their kid be successful. So,
I get a turn, right?
See you get up.
RENA number of 6,700 is like very conservative. Chispa made a presentation to the city of Salinas in 2018 and said 12,500 homes with 6 months absorption rate. You put 12,500 homes in the city today, which are affordable, in 6 months they're all gone and all occupied. Can you meet this number? Better question is how? The 2018 and 2023 economic housing element with the city of Salinas clearly shows 4,200 home deficiency. And that deficiency keeps getting bigger because 49% of our housing is low income. We don't have to just sprawl and build new housing. We can infill. We can fill up. We can do ADUs. City of Salinas has done a great thing and approved 4 plants. Take one of these 4 plants and you can plant a brand new accessory dwelling unit in your backyard. It's permitted. We can do public-private partnerships. South Francisco put $51 million on the table, found a state grant for 50, and a developer put in another 50. And they're building 1,200 affordable housing as we speak. The point is, in order to make more affordable housing, there has to be political will. There has to be focus from the leadership. When 4 days ago, affordable housing issue came up with the city council that say Old Town development is to be part of affordable housing, there was a lot of discussion, a lot of fighting. City council removed requirement for affordable housing in Old Town. It shouldn't be. We need to promote more affordable housing. More, not less. Thank you.
And speaking about Old Town or downtown Salinas, on Tuesday, Salinas City Council decided to lift, I would say partially lift, the inclusionary housing, and now adaptive reuse buildings still have the exemptions, but new projects don't have it anymore. So do you think that this is a fair policy? And second, what other policies can be implemented to promote economic and racial integration in future housing developments? And we're going to start this one with Andrew.
No, I don't think it's fair. I think we've heard enough about Old Town and enough favoritism for Old Town, and the reality is that, those leadership roles in the past have still left their thumbprint on the way decisions are being made in our city. But, no, I don't think they should be exempt. I heard it at a recent city council meeting that it doesn't pencil out. Of course, no one ever saw that penciling out. It's just a nice statement people like to make excuses, right? So no, I don't think that's exempt. That should be exempt. I think they did towards future, but not current developments, if I'm not mistaken. But I don't see why. I heard a developer go in there at a recent meeting and said, "Oh, these apartments are going to be $1,300 a month." Well, that may be the initial cost, but what's to stop it from the next year being different, or for those tenants to be removed and other tenants to be taken in? So, I think the way we make sure that the housing that's being built here in Salinas goes to lower disadvantaged communities is we need to make sure that we're including them in the decision-making process when we develop our policies. We need to increase the amount of inclusionary housing that we're going to require, right? The same thing the developers tell us. Doesn't pencil out. Well, maybe you're not the right developer for this area. So, and I think we also need to have outreach in several different languages. I remember a school district meeting we had at McKinnon, and it was well attended by parents, and they just wanted to know, well, how do we know we're going to get an opportunity to buy those houses, right? And so the real fear is that those houses will be bought up by people from the Bay Area. So one thing we need to do is we need to make sure we're educating, keeping people informed of new housing that's coming in, making sure we're getting the inclusionary housing ordinance up to higher percentage.
Jim, you're talking about the developer for Rabobank for $1,300 for a 510 square foot studio. Today, there's an advertisement. He has 8 units left and rent is $1,500. It just jumped 200 in 3 days. And that's going to happen down the line. affordable housing rules are not made for big corporations to profit from. Affordable housing rules do not guarantee a profit to the developer. They're made for other people, the residents, so they can work here. Most of the affordable housing that we're lacking in is our poverty number from 63,000 down to 40,000. That's our workers. Who makes between 40 and 63,000? There's your restaurant waiters, waitresses, and bartenders. They're your car mechanics. They're out there managing small businesses, maybe some small business owners. These people live in the city, contribute to the economy. We used to require that 30% of all development over 4 units in the city of Salinas have a 30% affordable housing. 2016, one of the current council members who is running for re-election got an idea from a developer and said we should be 5% affordable housing. Negotiation went down to 20%, 15%. Right now, City Council approves between 8 and 11% affordable housing. I say nay. I say we're going in the wrong direction. You got a developer of 4,000 homes. You should be required to put 20% of that as affordable housing. In that rule also, 15 seconds left. Thank you. Yeah, I'm done. We can talk more about affordable housing. It's a very interesting issue. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm running for District 3, which downtown is in, and I think that the inclusionary housing exemption should be lifted. I think downtown needs it to be lifted. We need to be equitable throughout the city with the number of affordable housing that we need to have. It needs to be equitable all over the city with all 6 districts, including downtown. And honestly, the inclusionary housing, ban, that benefits a rich person. So that doesn't benefit the residents. And then I say, you talk about the equity. I think that downtown is great. I can walk to it. I love downtown. When I first moved here, it was sad, and now it's great. But let's make all of Salinas great. District 3 is only going to be as great as the rest of Salinas is. And you talk about equity, and one reason why downtown is better because you have more East Salinas business owners there, bringing in their residents from the east side, the north side, not just downtown. But let's make the north side, the east side, and LaSalle also have wonderful places that we all want to go to. Right? They all can be unique, and they all can be for all of us. Not just one. We've been too separated. I want to bring us together. That's what equity is. That's what we can do, is bring everybody together, make sure people can live where they want to live, work where they want to work, and be a part of our thriving Salinas. And Salinas has some of the most wonderful people. And I know I live in a lot of places. The reason why I stayed here and chose to do this is for the people. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is a question that you all touched on, and I know you're going to love it because it's a topic that gets everyone excited, and it's transparency. Last year, it came to light that the city had signed a non-disclosure agreement with Amazon, legally binding leadership to not share details of a proposal to set up an operation in Salinas, which, of course, didn't go through. But where do you stand with non-disclosure agreements? Are they proper in government? And we'll start with Ms. Cruz.
So, no, we should not have it. That should not happen in government. No non-disclosure. We represent the people, not the business. So we need to be communicating with the residents everything that we know. As a permit town, no, not. I don't know. I mean, I don't think I would sign it. That is just not right. So no, never.
It was weeks and months before we found out. The mayor negotiated with Amazon to give over Measure X money, our tax money, to repave the roads and make the proper connections at our expense to get to Amazon to come here. Is there a place in the city to have secrets and non-disclosure agreements? My question is why? Why? If the residents knew Amazon is thinking about coming to Salinas, is there a secret? No. Amazon wants to come, let them come. Lowe's wants to come, let them come. I think there are enough secretives behind the back stuff going on in the city. I think we need to rip the roof open and let the sunshine come in. And I think we need to let all the roaches scatter away in the corners. There is nothing more important than honesty and truthfulness. Not only in a family setting, in a business setting, but especially true when more power and money is involved, and people we elect to represent us, they owe us a fiduciary of honesty and truthfulness. Hiding things, not telling us, this is all wrong. We need to clean the city. And it was only through my supporter, Anthony Rocha, a current councilman, when he stood up and blew the whistle on what is going on because he couldn't take it anymore, is when we found out the whole slew of negotiations and backroom deals that were happening. Shouldn't be. They don't give our residents enough credit. I said we let everybody know what's going on. People can decide for themselves as well, can't they? Thank you.
Well, transparency in government is very near and dear to me. When I found out that that agreement was signed right away, I made a public records request to get a copy of it. I don't think that agreement even came before the city council. You know, there hasn't been much discussion. I don't think they covered it only that it was signed. It's actually the assistant city manager, interim city manager, Jim Pia, who signed that agreement. So when we're looking at things like that, you got to look at the process, right? So who has the authority to make that decision that we're going to keep a secret from the residents of Salinas? Was it on a closed session item? Well, I didn't see it. You know, so there's a big issue. You know, the public has a right to know. We talk about transparency. We also need to talk about access to meetings. You know, we've all heard it before. City council meetings start at 4 o'clock. Working people work, so how are they supposed to show up? You know, you talk about transparency and
Zoom.
And well, Wes just stole my thunder. During COVID, we made great progress, right? So they opened up city council meetings to Zoom. Outpouring of comments and participation, and unfortunately, we don't know who made the decision either because it was never discussed publicly to end Zoom, right? Isn't the goal of government to be more transparent and to be more inclusive and to want public participation? So what's going on? Why are we going backwards? So all those things have to do with transparency.
If I thought like housing was complicated, I think talking about water is even more complicated. And you know, we all need water, I need water. Water is needed if we want to make new housing developments. Talking about that, you know, what are the future water sources for the Salinas Valley groundwater basins, and how do we get to a regional solution with so many competing interests? And for this one, I think we're going to start with Amir Pandia.
Thank you for putting me in the hot seat first. Water is not an issue in Salinas. We got plenty of water. Nobody talks about water. God gives, we use it. Wrong attitude. We need to start talking about water a lot. We have the Sigma mandate from the state of California on the water recycling and usage. Water is such a big issue in the Monterey Peninsula that Monterey 2 months ago had two perfectly good affordable housing proposals. They can only approve one because they don't have water credit for the other. We in Salinas are spoiled, but the saltwater intrusion is coming. It's already on Miranda. It's already at South Main Street. We have already completed the 180-foot aquifer. 400-foot aquifer is already coming dirty and salty. Now we're tapping into water and pumping at record rate. 900-foot aquifer, that water took 10 to 20,000 years to get there. Yet we don't have a plan to replenish our underground water. Water is a public issue. I'm with public water. I'm with recycling water, and I'm with pure water that takes thousands and millions of gallons of our wastewater, cleans it, filters it, bleaches it, does whatever it does and makes it potable again. Recycling the water we have is one issue. Reducing the use of the water is another issue. But water is something that we really need to concentrate on. It may not be a big issue in Salinas now, but in 3 to 5 years, with all the development coming up on the north side, water is going to be the issue. And we need to start talking about it. Thank you.
So we have a like mind because the first thing I wrote is Salinas is not talking about water. So that's just a reality. You know, I'm thankful. Water's not something I ever thought about, up to 6 months ago about how precious our water is. I'm thankful to Councilman Rocha who gave me an opportunity to serve on the sub-basin committee for the east side. And it's opened my eyes. It's also opened my eyes to the importance of making sure that the community has a seat at the table. And I'll tell you why, because I sit on that sub-basin committee, but most of those committee members are farmers. And I was shocked. And you know what? They try to represent themselves as parents, as businessmen, as an interested community member, but the reality is they're there to represent farm interests and not the community interests. So my eyes have really been open to that. So I encourage all of you, because your community, even if you're not from Salinas, these decisions that the farmers make, unfortunately, are going to affect your communities. And I'm also in favor of public water, and I was also baffled at our representative, the mayor, making a decision on water issues that went ahead against the voters. I'm in shock because we're a democracy, right? So we're supposed to be representative. Oh, not me? Okay. Our decision is supposed to be representative of our community. So to be elected, you should represent your community and their desires, not your personal and not big companies.
Okay, so water. Water is very important. I'm from Seattle. I grew up in Seattle. We have a lot of water. So I come down here, I think, oh, there's a lot of water. No, there isn't. Water is something that I need to educate myself on what's going on, but I do agree that it should be public. There are some things that should not be private, and water is not one of them. It should be public. Two, it is a regional issue. My understanding is that Salinas is not communicating with water with Monterey and Marina. Well, that's not right. We need to work together. We need to work. This is a regional problem. Water is life. So three, we need to communicate with the residents. If we're going to have to conserve, you need to have communications with the residents and let them understand why and the importance of it. This is a really, I think, a dire issue. We haven't talked about it. It's something that we should know about. And again, being an educator, read, understand, learn, look what other cities are doing. Let's solve this together. I believe as a whole, we can solve it. You just don't leave people out. You bring people in. Thank you.
question we have is about equity. Specifically when it comes to how much our city spends on various parts of town. Well, downtown, as we know, it's very different and it's become very sexy, let's admit it, with all those twinkling lights and the beautiful Salinas banner. Everybody wants to take selfies, right? We have $21 million from Measure X that were invested, according to the former city finance director, Matt Pressey. Do you think the city invests fairly in different parts of our city? Let's start with Mr. Pani.
City thinks so. City thinks they're fair. When KSPW came calling for an interview for the mayor, I said, meet me at the Costa Plaza. Not in front of City Hall. Hey, let's meet in Old Town with the new sign. Why did I go to Costa Plaza? It's on the east side. Our east side of Salinas does not get the attention it deserves. Like she said, we spent $21 million in Old Town. How much did we spend on Elsa? Did you know we only do about $480,000 to $500,000 in annual sales tax revenue in Old Town? This is the money we get. In Elsa District, we get between $6 and $8 million, depends on the year. If I had $20 million sitting around and I wanted to invest in an area that's going to give me the largest amount of return, why didn't I pick East Side? Our potholes and sidewalks on South Side is not that big of a problem. You walk to East Side, they're not getting fixed as often. Should the city think of itself as 6 districts and 6 parts? Should the city think of itself as North Salinas, South Salinas, East Salinas, and the new Salinas that we're building towards Prundell on the north side? I think a mayor's job is really simple. Mayor opens arms and brings everybody together as a team. My message is of team building and equality and togetherness. And it's unfortunate, historically, city has spent way too little money, time, and attention in certain parts of the town. Hopefully with your help, that's about to be fixed in 3 weeks. Thank you.
Yeah, when I talk to the neighbors and they say, man, what do you think about Old Town? And I would say, well, what do you think about Old Town? And they say, well, it's really nice, but how about my sidewalks? Or how about my streets? You know, Colton, Navajo, I think we had a Cherokee, Van Buren. All those people are saying, what about us? Like, it's nice, don't get me wrong. I haven't taken a selfie there. But, you know, the reality is it didn't need to be done. And all too often, the wants of the few, those with money, get met before the wants of the many. So, you know, one of my commitments is no more preferential treatment. You know, Andres just showed up, and I had a chance to visit his brother who lives off of Russell Road. He doesn't even have a sidewalk, okay? Now, it's not that he's like, oh, well, I want a sidewalk too. No, it's the fact that our students from Santa Rita, from Gavilan View, from John G. Gutierrez, they walk across that. And guess what? There's no sidewalk, so they have to literally go a little bit around and put themselves in danger. So we need to make sure that we're taking care of the needs before the wants. So no more Old Town, no more, de basta.
All right, so again, I would say no, $21 million downtown Salinas was not equitable. That's the answer to that question, no. And just walking around District 3, there's other businesses like the Park Row that needs some attention too. You know, it's not just downtown, there's other places. And you know, my business is in North Salinas. And during the pandemic, I was like, hey city, I'm seeing all you council going in and taking selfies in downtown. Downtown's great. Well, what about up here on the north side? What about a selfie here with my business and my neighbor's business. You know, I'll say it again, we need to be equitable and be one. You know, as a city council, District 3, my job is also to make sure the other districts also get what they need. It can't just be one place only. I love downtown. I mean, I can walk there. It's a great place, but there's more that needs to be done. I walk through apartment buildings in District 3 that are crumbling, that we need the landlords to do something. So there's other issues besides making downtown a wonderful place. It is a wonderful place. So, you know, as a sitting on city council as District 3, I'll make sure District 3 gets what its residents want, need, but I'll also make sure all of Salinas is in the same spot, is doing just as well. Because that makes us all better, all of us. Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna go with the last question, and this one is about the largest industry that we have here, which is ag. According to the Farm Bureau, nearly 1 in 5 households relies on income related to agriculture, which supports 76,000 jobs and contributes over $3.9 billion per year to Montgomery County's economic output, and with a crop value of $4.1 billion. Finding out how much taxes are paid by the industry remains a daunting task for us journalists. That says, it's a huge industry, yet the people they employed, the farm workers, and others live at the bottom of our socioeconomic strata. Do you think ag has a responsibility to address the social issues created by low wages?
Great, okay. I say yes, but then I also say, what does that look like? There's a great book that's been just published about the history of Salinas, and traditionally, they knew they had to pay their employees a certain wage so that they could be economic citizens of this city and give back to it. So when I say, okay, we're going to give social, they're going to give back social, or give back, why don't they just pay them a living wage? You know, or tax them more? Put them in a 50% tax, big business. That's what it used to be. I studied history. Businesses used to pay the 50%, so then pay more. It has to come out of their pocket some way. They're the ones bringing them in, but we want ag workers to be an integral fabric of our community and give back to it, and we give back to them. They're a part of our community. So these big ag businesses have to take responsibility for that. And the city council, we have to make sure that they're taking responsibility for that. Thank you.
Agriculture is a big 600-pound gorilla in the room. Our economy runs with the agriculture. Salinas has one industry that is agriculture, pumps $4 billion a year into our local economy. The direct benefit of ag is not from taxation that they pay to the city or the county. The direct benefit of ag, having them here, is all the jobs and economic activity they create. If ag went away tomorrow, we wouldn't have to worry about water. We wouldn't have to worry about homelessness or housing, because there will be no water, there will be no jobs, there will be no homelessness, there will be nothing left. Ag is a major player. We don't have any of the industries or businesses that can compete with the volume of income they generate. But should they become a part of the community and be responsible business? Yes. If ag is causing damage by spraying of pesticide to the kids and affecting their brain development, should we hold ag accountable? Absolutely. If ag is causing pollutions in the water that's trickling down to 180 and 400 foot aquifers and making our drinking water polluted, Should they be held responsible? Yes. There was a mention 4 years ago about taxing the ag companies on the square acreage of crops that grow per acre cost, similar to what we do with cannabis. That never got there, never got anywhere. What is the direct benefit of ag again? There isn't any. If you try to find out how much tax ag companies are paying on the crop growing and selling, nothing comes to my mind. But they should be responsible citizens, not only of Salinas, but the entire Monterey County. Thank you.
We had a neighborhood meeting over in the Navajo area, and one of the residents said, maybe you can answer this for me. He says, we have the biggest ag industry probably in the country. It's thriving, but how come our community is not thriving? How come we don't have the best streets? How come we have so much issues with homelessness? How come our roads that they destroy, driving through some of our main streets, why? Like, are they not paying taxes? Why is the community not directly benefiting? So it does baffle me if they're not contributing, and I wasn't aware that the media had such a hard time. But I think that conversation needs to happen. I also find it interesting that, of course, ag is an important industry. Ag tech comes, they take over downtown. It's my understanding that they get free use of our public facilities, of our resources. But when the workers like the UFW, which we're in their building now, march, they get charged a fee. How does that work? Right? We need to make sure we're taking care of our workforce, especially not just corporate interests, right? So I also agree there needs to be definitely something looked into and a solution found on how they can contribute.
We've come to the end of this debate, but and so you're going to have 2 minutes each to give your closing statements. Please, when you do that, remember that there's somebody else competing against you. You're competing against somebody else who's not here. So maybe you want to say why you're a better candidate. And also, before I pass you the mic, I wanted to clarify that the beautiful sign that's downtown, that's in Salinas, was done with a lot of input from citizens like ours. Our fellow citizens from the Rotary Club, which I just don't want to take away from them because they really work hard on that. And also, they are very big supporters of the Salinas Cluster Park. It was through their rally that the Placita and Cluster Park got developed. So, and there's also selfie opportunities over there, so I highly recommend it. And so, a closing statement. Why don't we start with Mr. Sandoval?
Well, some things we didn't get to talk about is some of the ridiculous policies that our city still has in place. Like, they want us to build ADUs, but they won't allow residents to have additional parking on their own property. We're also need to talk about the processes of how sidewalks get repaired and how only 3 sidewalks in each neighborhood get repaired instead of the whole neighborhood. There's a lot of playbooks that need to be rewritten on how we do things and how we engage the public. But like I said, I'm not just running to be a representative, really, I'm running to be a public servant, to go alongside the residents, to help them with issues like the permit department, to finally get some resolution, some clarity, and make sure that our city staff is being responsive. All too often, me and Chris have to go here and we have to go there because city staff is just not responding. And I'm baffled at the fact that sometimes residents request meetings and it just doesn't happen. And I'm like, well, that's not supposed to happen. So making sure that our city is customer service centered. And just like the sign says, it says, if you walk into City Hall, which is obviously your City Hall, it says, we are people serving people for a better community. And that's really the mindset that city needs to change, is they need to make sure that we're serving our people. Thank you.
So I hope you got the idea that there are 2 different factions in the city. You have a candidate for corporate interest, and then you have a Monterey candidate who wants to represent people's interest. My opponent has received a lot of corporate and PAC money. I'm partially self-funded. My opponent thinks she knows how things should be governed. My approach is to set up a group of people, let's sit around and talk and let's figure it out. I do not know everything. Actually, I'll be the first to admit there are people in the city way smarter than I am, and I'd like to utilize using community forums and groups to come up to a solution. We talk about openness, we talk about transparency, we talk about the community meetings. The 4 candidates on the city council currently who serve with the current mayor chose to endorse me, that we talked about earlier. They're like-minded. For the first time in 22 years, we really have a chance to direct this council and this city towards the voice of the people, more than voice of the corporations and big power. This is a very critical moment in the future of the city. Thank you.
Okay, so I want to thank everyone for attending, for coming out and listening to all of us newbies. I want to thank the Monterey County Democrats for putting this on and our moderators for asking good, tough questions. I think that the residents of Salinas want to know the answers to and how we are going to solve it. So I humbly ask for your vote, because in me, you're going to get a person who knows how to work, knows how to work hard, knows how to answer questions, get the work done, communicate. Because again, I'll say, when parents come to Sylvan, they're paying, if you vote me in, when you vote me in, I'm working for you now. And like Andrew, my number's on everything. You can call me anytime, and if you have any questions. And you know, some people say, how can you do that, Carrie? Because we have the city, we have people to help us. We have a team. It's not just me. We have a team of people that if I don't know the answer, I can go to somebody and find the answer. That's what you do as an educator. That's what you do as a business owner. That's what I can do for the city. I have a passion to help the residents. Like Andrew said, and admit, we're servants. We're elected to be servant to the community. And that's what I'm good at. That's what I know I can do. That's what I've been doing since I've been here. So it would be my pleasure to serve the residents of Salinas, not just South Salinas District 3, but all of Salinas, and be the person that you can turn to when you need help. And you know what? Let's make this a great city together. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I just, as a farewell, I want to thank again the Progressive Democrats of Monterey County for putting this together with Ms. Christina Dirksen here, who's been doing the sign and everything. And also we want to thank the UFW for hosting us tonight. We have 20 minutes so the candidates can mingle and answer questions from everyone if you have questions. And don't forget, we have only the Monterey County Elections Office has only received under 8% of the ballots. We can start voting now. So vote early and often. I'm sorry, just early, not often, just once per person. And thanks again. Thank you.